Hi, I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Justy, and
and
together
together
we're
we're
losing
losing
it.
it. We've each lost over 100 pounds with the help of diet, exercise, and breaking bad habits. And I also had weight loss surgery in 2020.
And I recently had skin removal surgery.
We're just sharing our journey and what we've learned throughout the process.
And we're not doctors, so if you have any medical questions, reach out to your doctor.
Welcome back, friends. We are here today to talk about self-love versus self-care, the difference between the two, the similarities in the two, and kind of what we feel like they mean, and I guess our history with them and where we are with them now. So I'm going to kick it over to Justy and let her kind of talk about what we think they are.
Yeah, so what we think self-care is the things that you kind of do for yourself, the bubble baths, the lotion, taking long walks, what have you, going to the beach, all that kind of fun stuff. But self-love is how you speak to yourself, what you actually think about yourself. And I am a really strong believer that you can do the bubble baths and things, but you can't really get to where you want to be, especially with your weight loss journey or health journey, until you've learned self-love. So those are the differences that we discussed in those two things. So the one thing that Steph and I talked about earlier was her and I both tried to self-care ourself through weight loss. And we usually started our weight loss journeys out with hate and disgust of ourselves. And it didn't turn out too well. It was years and years of
All of them every time.
every single time. And we were talking about, even with Steph's surgery, her VSG, it was out of desperation. And for results. So I'll kind of let her talk about that, and then I'll talk about kind of how my skin removal as well. It was sort of out of desperation because I lost all my weight and I still didn't love myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So for me, having weight loss surgery, I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again, but I remember like it was yesterday, the day that I knew something had to change, and it was New Year's Eve of I guess that was 2019 going into 2020, and I didn't feel good about myself. I was disgusted with myself, and I just knew that night. I knew something had to change, and I was exactly like you said. It was desperate. Like I went out, I had fun, I got smashed as usual, but the next day comes, New Year's Day comes, the whole year comes, people are making resolutions. I was like, I don't want a resolution. I want something to change. Something has to change. And that was it for me. I had to do something, and I had to do something drastic, because every Weight Watchers, every keto, every, Jenny Craig under the sun didn't do anything for me, because like you said, they were all out of disgust. They were all out of anger for myself, of why can't I do this. And I'm so like tired of looking at myself being over 300 pounds, and why can't I do it. And so it just led me to, you know what, I'm going to go to this seminar and I'm going to see what they have to say. And I went in still very like, I don't know if this is for me. It seems really drastic, but
mhm,
I was also very desperate. And so,
mhm,
that, if you ask me, that was uh, probably the biggest form of self-love I've ever shown for
mhm,
myself, was the courage enough to actually show up to that meeting. I went by myself. I walked into the room. I was full of shame, because it's me and a bunch of other people that are overweight and all also desperate. And then,
mhm,
the doctor who's going over the seminar, and but I love myself enough to go through with it. And I love myself enough to schedule an appointment to see the surgeon afterwards. And then I love myself enough to do the nutrition. He said for your insurance, you have to go through 6 months of nutrition classes. And I still wasn't set on the surgery, but I loved myself enough to start the nutrition classes. I was like, I can stand to learn something from it for sure. But I loved myself enough to go every step of the way. It was about a 7 to 8 month process. every step of the way until I got on that operating table. So that to me is ultimate self-love, to get
Mhm.
myself to that place, um, to where I could lose the weight and begin to find other ways to love myself.
Yeah, and for me, it was interesting when you were talking about that. I had thought about surgery once or twice, and this is a completely wrong thought to have, but I'm gonna just be honest. I'm like, I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, I had the
I'm
same
not
thought.
one of those people. I'm not somebody who has to have surgery in order to do something. And I wasn't judging it at all, but I wasn't one of those people. I'm like, I'm active, I work out, I'm not a lazy person. I don't, make excuses to why, but I did make excuses. So, but that was my mentality. And for me, with my weight loss journey, I got more pissed. So when I get pissed and someone tells me I can't do something or something, I'm pretty stubborn. So I got pissed at myself. I'm like, how in the fuck did you get here? I I kind of, it took me a while to be okay with how I got there or why I got there. I still don't even know, but I'm like, well, I'm here and I'm not going to stay here. And so that was kind of my kind of first self-love. And it's interesting because it was with H2 when he moved in, and his brother, they were like super healthy. And I'm like, who in the fuck are these people? And that's when I started changing, like, oh wow, people take time for themselves. I don't understand. People go to the gym. I mean, I worked out and I went to the gym and stuff, but they were like really dedicated. And for me, my self-talk was, well, I'm not worth it. I should give this to my children. I should give this time to my career. I should give this money to other people who need it. Or I never put myself first. I always came up with an excuse as to why I should give to others or do something else because I didn't feel like I was worthy. However I got there, that's how I felt. And I was just tired of it. And so I just remember one day like asking myself like how in the fuck did I get like 300 and some pounds? Like that's just ridiculous. I feel disgusting. I look disgusting. And I should have this surgery or whatever. And then I was like, no, like you can do this. You're smarter than that. And so me changing my thought in my head was that's self-love. And so you were kind of forced to change that. Well, not even.
No,
You
because I was like you,
know.
where I had seen other people do it, and I thought maybe I should do that, and then I'm like, no, 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 you don't
Mm-hmm,
need that. Like you work
mm-hmm.
out, you do you know the right things to do, you know the right
Right.
things to do, you just need to do it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I still know the right things to do,
Which
and I
made
still
us
need to just do it.
which made us hate ourselves more because we're like, why the fuck can't we just do
Right,
this? You know what
right.
I mean? Like, oh no, because we are both very strong women and we've
Mm.
been really successful in our careers and
Yes.
just always kind of like strong women. And then this one thing, for me, it was always this one thing I couldn't do. And I swore when I got to be a size 14 that I would be
Mhm.
happy.
That was the Mecca
That
14.
was the size. Well, I'm a size 8 now. I'm happy as shit. But I was a size 14 before my skin removal surgery. And I still looked at my body every day and thought it's disgusting. So
Mhm.
I lost 100 pounds starting with disgust and desperation, but I'm also a super stubborn bitch and I wasn't going to give up. So
Right,
not a lot of people have that combination.
right.
And so, but as I started losing weight and doing things for myself, it just was like a snowball effect for me. It just kept going. And,
Yeah.
I remember I was kind of thinking about this podcast and I was going kind of back into I don't know how I changed the thoughts in my head, but I specifically remember arguing with myself about shitty thoughts. Like, and I do that still with food. Like, oh, I want a pizza. No, you don't. Yeah, you do. No, you don't. This is why you don't. This is why like it's just constant. But I just remember thinking like I'm so gross. I'm so disgusting. Like nobody's gonna love me. So I'll just put up with this jackass. And then I don't know, just something changed, and I'm just like, you are where you are, but you're not going to get any better by thinking like that. And so I just like forced myself to stop. Like you said earlier, you wouldn't talk to your best friend that way. When I was talking to myself that way. So I started treating myself like my best friend
Mhm.
and honest with her, not letting her have excuses, but just saying like, you're not disgusting. You are worthy. You can do this. This is all you got to do today. Here's the
Yeah.
things we're going to do today. And then as I kept promises to myself, then the momentum kept going for
Yeah.
sure.
And so to backtrack a little bit, Justin and I talked before. We should just start recording when we start talking.
Right.
We talked before, and I was saying how I had seen some pictures of myself from like 15 years ago that came up in memories, and I was looking at them, and I'm like, I don't even recognize that person. I'm the same person. I feel like I've grown tremendously since then, but I was looking at it like, oh God, like how did I let myself get that big? And I was like mad about it. And my sister was in some of the pictures. We were on vacation, and I sent her a screenshot of it. And I was like, look at me. And I was like, I'm like, it's gross. And she's like, Steph, you wouldn't say that to one of your friends if they like shared, that
Mm-hmm.
picture with you, would you? And I was like, no. She's like, well,
Well,
then
and
don't say it to yourself.
And the
And I'm like,
thought,
shit.
the change is from saying, "Oh my gosh, look how gross I was," because I was like that literally 8 months ago before my surgery, my skin removal. And now I say, "Look how fucking far I've come." It's a
Right,
different thought. It's a
right.
different way of speaking to
And I'll
yourself.
tell you, I got so caught up in that day. It was just bad. It was a bad body image day for me. And it's going to continue to happen, especially with like rapid weight loss, because that was only, I mean, my surgery, I'm coming up on 3 years. It was just 3 years ago that I was almost, 300 pounds. And so,
Mhm.
when she said that, I was like, you're right, I'm better than that. But like I went to the gym later that day, and I'm like looking at myself in the mirror while I'm like doing the class, and I'm like, oh, like I've I've I know I gained some weight. I gained like 10 pounds. We talked about this last week,
Mhm.
or the other day, whatever. Like I gained like 10 pounds over the last couple of weeks, um, life. And
Mhm.
I know that sounds like an excuse, but life.
Mhm.
And I need to reel it in and start, getting back to my basics and stuff. But either way, I know I'm up 10 pounds. I knew that day that I was up 10 pounds. Um, I had seen those pictures. So it was kind of this whole trickle effect where I
Mhm.
was really mean to myself. Even while I'm working out and like checking my form in the mirror doing this class, I'm like, oh, look at that roll. Oh, look at that. But I don't do that any other time. Any other time, I'm like, fuck yeah, look at me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I have extra weights on, or God, I look great, or I typically talk really well to myself, but all it takes is one thing to just
Mhm.
trigger me and I'll start talking bad to myself. And that's like you had said earlier, that's the self-love part. My
Mhm.
I was my self-care is completely different. I can paint my nails, I can do my hair, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I love myself. What do they call it?
Right.
Putting lipstick on a pig? Like
Right.
it doesn't mean I
Right.
love
And
myself.
it's funny when you were talking about that. I was thinking how just like with everything else in our life, like we have good days and we have bad days. I have better self-love days, more of them now than I used to, but I still have bad days.
Yeah.
But what I do differently now is the days when I'm feeling really good, I celebrate the fuck out of it. And the days when I'm not, I really try to evaluate, okay, what am I going to think next time? Like
Mhm.
when I see, like I've done that before, even at the gym now. I kind of got a glimpse of my back. I'm like, oh, I got some back fat. And I'm like, but that shit is way better than it used to be. And it's, I can get rid of it. I can work it off. I can do this. I can do that. And it's just a little back fat.
Right.
So, you know
Right.
what I mean? So, but that didn't come overnight. I had to like consciously say, okay, bitch, stop talking about yourself like shit. And next time you're having this body image thought, what are you going to think? Here's 5 things that you can think
Right.
that are going to get you through it. And
Right.
I mean, we're not journalers, but write that shit down if you are.
Right.
um,
Exactly.
then you can just go back to it and be like, okay, I know that I'm feeling this or thinking this, but I can choose to feel this way about it or this way about it.
Right.
And, you know, just kind of, I hate to say it, but just like shake it off.
Yep. And that's where having your tribe, having your people, having your circle comes in
Right.
handy, because just me sharing those pictures with her and saying that one
Mhm.
thing about myself, she was like, no, like, don't talk about yourself like that. And I was just like, oh, like it kind of like snapped me out of it. Like, oh, you're right. Like I wouldn't and I shouldn't. But then I
Right.
still went to the, like, I was still in that rut. But she
Right.
didn't, you know, because it could have been worse. She did like bring that point to me. But then when I went to the gym, it was the same thing. And then after that, the next day, I was like, okay, like this is dumb. We're not going to continue doing this. Like, let's
Right.
just, like you said, how are we gonna reword this? How are we gonna go forward like each day? And so then it was just like, I think it was like the next day or the day after that. I had posted it on my Instagram too. I had to dye my hair, and I started dyeing my own hair. I'm like, I don't get highlights or anything. I can do this myself. My One of my best friends is she does hair, and she usually does my hair if I can see her. She lives up here, but if I can't, then I'll do my own. But I know how to do it. She showed me, and so
Mhm.
it was just like I was like, okay, I'm in this like semi rut. I am tired of everything and everybody. I'm dyeing my hair because I'd had the mix and the solution and stuff. I had everything. I bought it like a week ago and I just hadn't done it. And
Mhm.
I was like, that's it. And I locked myself in the bedroom. I dyed my hair and I had to wait 40 minutes for it to set. So I locked myself in the bedroom and I was like, nobody can find me. I'm in my bedroom. Right? Like I'm just locked
I'm
up.
opposite. I have nobody to like
Right,
get
right.
on my nerves at all. So I have like the opposite problem where it's like, it's just me and Sancho, you
Right.
know, like, what are we going to do today, sir? But you know, I think it's important for us to realize, like we're going to have days where we don't feel so in love with ourselves, but that's okay to feel the
Yeah.
feelings. It's
Yeah.
okay to like be a little, you know, I don't know, down in the dumps, if you would, a day or so here or there. I mean, it happens. We're
Yeah.
human. It's not perfect. But you know, not staying in it and then understanding like how can you make it better. You're never going to have 100% perfect days. You're never going to feel like you're a badass 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like it's just not going to happen. So
Yeah.
expectations,
And letting
one.
that one thing, like letting that those pictures, I guess it wasn't one thing, it was a compounded, letting those seeing those pictures, knowing I had gained 10 pounds. You know, my work is getting busy now, and it's like I just need to like snap out of it. So having your people, so like you,
Mhm.
my sister, whatever, have your people that can help to bring you out of it, but also having like a toolbox of things that you can do, self-love and self-care. So both
Mhm.
ends of the spectrum. Self-love, you know, just like I had enough self-love to get myself on that operating table, have enough self-love to get myself to the gym. I went to the
Right.
gym that same day, which I had planned on. I
Mhm.
didn't do it because of that. I had planned on because I fell out of routine since moving, because I was exhausted after moving this whole freaking house. And I kept telling myself the excuses of, oh, just, you know, you need a couple days break after that. Okay.
Mhm.
A couple days turned into like a couple weeks. So that's enough of that. So it was enough self love to get myself back to the gym, to get myself to meal prep, to get enough water in, to take my vitamins every day. So doing all the bariatric things, it was enough self love to do all of that. Um, and just try to do it, you know, one day and then try to do it all again the next day. And if I hit 4 out of the 5, that ain't bad either. And just go, you know,
Exactly.
being easier on myself.
And I think, you know, for us, definitely, our our non-self love days are few and far between.
Mm.
For me, I put on a lot of pressure on myself because I should be doing this or I should be doing that. But at the end of the day, like I have dishes in my sink right now and I've been thinking about them all
Me
day.
too.
But it's like, why? Who the fuck cares about my dishes? And why am I? And either stop thinking about them and let that shit go, or just go do the damn dishes, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like for me, and that's not really self love, but that's just kind of how our brains are. You know, well, things have to be perfect in order for us to love ourselves, or we have to do this or this or that. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm still fucking fabulous, whether my dishes are dirty or not.
Right.
I think so. Sancho thinks so. And that's all that really matters. My mama loves me. My stuff loves me. So that's all that really matters. You know, and we talked about the other day, when I sent you a text, I'm like, oh, I'm struggling a little bit. You know, I've started eating a little bit bigger portions. I started snacking a little bit more than normal. But at the end of the day, I'm also working out for about an hour to an hour and a half a day, lifting heavy weights. I'm hungrier. I'm not gaining weight. I'm maintaining. So why am I stressed out about it? If the scale gets up to 190, then I should stress out about it. I'm 185.
Right.
I've been 185. I've been lifting a lot of weights. I can see a lot more muscle tone. My legs are getting slimmer, like all this stuff. But in my head, I think, oh, I have to do it this way in order to be right, in order to not talk like shit to myself.
That's the diet culture we're used to.
Right. And that the diet culture is so it's just opposite of self-love, because you should allow yourself to be however you can be today. Right. And that sounds hard, but it's like you should allow yourself to just, okay, I'm 320 pounds. I'm here. What am I going to do about it?
Right. What's the next step?
Right. What's the next step?
One small step.
I'm not going to beat myself. Like, beating yourself up about it isn't doing any good. It's easier said than done. But as soon as you hear that disgust or self-loathing or whatever,
the negativity,
you just need to shut that bitch down.
Right.
Like,
shut it down.
Yes, you need to shut her down and have things and phrases that you can say that are going to shut her down. And I know it sounds silly, like wake up every day and tell yourself you love yourself. Well, I don't do that. But when I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, I ate 4 meals today and this and that, and like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, you're annoying. You're annoying the hell out of me right now.
I'm gonna slap you.
Right. Like, I wish I could. But even though we've done all this work and we have gotten where, we still have it. Like, it's still there. It's still a struggle. I compare myself.
You have to be able to redirect your thoughts. So it's like flipping it. So when I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at myself at these pictures, and I'm seeing my now self in those old pictures. And then I have this, you know, negative body thoughts about who I am right now, where I'm still like in a healthy range. I gained 10 pounds. It's not the end of the world. And like I had said, when we talked about, a lot of that was water weight. I came home really swollen from that work trip. So I don't know that I necessarily gained 10 pounds. I haven't been on the scale since then, because I was like, stop, I gotta stop. But it's redirecting the thoughts, like, okay, we've gained a little bit of weight. This picture is triggering right now. But you know what? We're gonna get up tomorrow and we're gonna work on our basics, and we're just gonna do the best that we can, and just let it go. Just
right. And I think it's important too, instead of like changing your thought to who you were, or talking about who you were or who you are right now. Like, for me, it's kind of like I talk about who I am going to be. Because I'm like, I'm going to be this. I'm doing this because I'm going to be this. I'm doing this because I want to be that. Not, oh, I have to do this because I did that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my gosh, like I ate, you know, 4 meals yesterday. So now today I have to work out more.
Right. Yeah.
Today I'm going to work out harder.
And count my calories.
Right. Which I won't do. Yeah. I've had like 2 different people at the gym be like, you know, you should really count your macros. But no, I'm not doing that. So, but anyway, to me, that's self-love, right? Because counting calories to me is restrictive, and I can't do it, because then I get obsessive with it. And it doesn't do me any good. It does me no good at all, because then I feel restricted, and I feel like I have to be perfect, and I feel like I have to do all this stuff. And when I don't count calories, I just eat when I'm hungry and eat what I want and stay within, you know, reasonable amount of food. I'm better. And I just learned that about myself. So that's kind of me discovering, talking to myself, you know, all of that fun stuff. But I didn't say, oh, I'm working out harder today because I ate 4 meals yesterday, or I, you know, had 2 espresso martinis last night. I'm working harder today because I'm going to test to be a body pump coach in November, and I need to do this for my future self. Not I'm doing this because of what I did or
what happened.
Bad I feel about myself or whatever. And that's a big change in my head too, because a lot of times my reactions to things were a punishment for my actions,
Yeah, no,
instead of being proactive for what I want in my future. I don't
yeah.
know if that makes any sense, but I think it does.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Yeah. And I remember being shopping before, and I heard a girl, we were just talking about, we were in Torrid of all places, because
Mhm.
you know, and the girl behind the counter was saying, "Oh yeah, that's I go to the gym so I can eat whatever I want." And it's just like that stuck with me. We're talking that was probably 15 years ago that has stuck
Mhm.
with me since then. And I'm like, now that I think about it, I'm like, gosh, that is just. I wish I could travel back in time and have that conversation all over again. Because then I was like, right on, yeah. Then you could just eat whatever you want. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't work that way. But like we were talking about before, the steps that you take to for self-love are ultimately the steps that will lead you to weight loss. So doing the things that loving yourself enough to do those things, to get your water in, to get your sleep in, to be
Mhm.
mindful of what you're eating, to get your movement in. Those are all self-love things that you're doing that because you love yourself enough to take care of your body that ultimately are going to lead to weight loss. And
Right.
not by like purposely trying to lose weight, but trying to take care of your body.
Mhm.
You will lose weight by trying to take care of your body with those like basics.
Right. And you will start having more self-care when you
Mhm.
love yourself more. And I know people are like, well, but how do I start loving myself? Well, in my mind, I feel like every action is because of a feeling, and every feeling is because of a thought. So it's about starting with your thoughts.
Mhm.
You have to catch yourself talking to yourself like an asshole. You have to catch yourself making excuses. You have to flip those thoughts in your head, and you have to fucking write them down maybe, but have thoughts that are like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the gym today because, well, I did this, and this, and I'll go tomorrow. Instead of talking yourself out, you need to, okay, no, bitch, you're going to talk yourself into it. Why should I go to the gym today? And so it's not going to be like, oh, I love myself. Yay. And it's going to happen overnight. It's like literally stopping yourself and saying, okay, thought, what are you thinking? Why are you thinking it? How can you think it different? So when you have a different thought, you will have a different feeling.
Mhm.
Instead of feeling disgusted or feeling overwhelmed, you will feel empowered and you will feel proud. And those feelings will then lead to an action of taking care of yourself.
And it's habit. You're building habit by doing that a little bit each day.
Right.
You're building that habit to where you get to, and that's where we are now, where it's mostly a habit,
Mhm.
but you're going to sprinkle in a few bad days. We're all going to have
Mhm.
bad days, but it's
Right.
mostly a habit for us to love ourselves, to love where we're at in our life, to love what we're doing with ourselves, to love the body that we live in. That's
Mhm.
mostly habit, but there's still going to be bad
Yeah.
days.
And I guess in expectations too, like the expectations of a self-love journey isn't that it's going to happen overnight, or I'm going to always love myself, or I'm always going to do the right thing, or always going to have the best relationship because I love myself. Like it's kind of like I'm going to just love myself better every day. And when I do that, then I'm going to take actions to take care of myself. And those actions are going to result into being healthier.
Right.
Weight loss is healthier, right?
Right.
So for me now, I don't really want to lose any more weight, but I'm still on a self-love journey because I want to be like muscular and I want to have, be strong. I don't want to be a weak lady when I'm 70 years old. I want to be a fucking badass when I'm 70 years old. So, those are the kind of things. And I for me, I've gone to an extreme when it comes to self-love and relationships. So, I used to put up with a lot of bullshit. Um, from my first ex-husband, H1, he was an alcoholic. He treated me like crap. He treated my children like crap. I covered it up and I didn't really talk about it because I didn't want to look like a failure. I didn't want to, I chose this, so I needed to deal with it type of stuff. And it really, really did a lot of damage to my self-worth. And I made a lot of excuses for him. I got the courage to leave him. I don't know where, but I did. Then with my second ex-husband, he's a real good looking man, but I was just like, well, I mean, he's really cute and like, I'm not going to really, I mean, this is what I have. I should appreciate it. I should be okay with these flaws. I should be okay with the fact that he has a wandering eye. I should be okay with this stuff. And me now, I'm almost to the extreme where I won't put up with anything. I gotta reel it back. I know I do. I know that I'm working on it. But literally, like I went on a date with a guy last week and we chatted all week, but he hadn't asked me out for a second date yet. And it'd been like 10 days. And I'm like, why are you still texting me if you're not going to ask me out on a second date? Like, why?
Right.
Me before I would have held on. Well, maybe
Well, he's still texting.
he's
Yeah.
still texting, so he must be interested, blah, 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 blah. Well, his response was a bunch of excuses as to how busy he was. And I was like, sorry, sir, I'm worth someone's time.
Right.
Done. I don't give a fuck if you're a lawyer or not. I don't care that you have a big house and pretty good looking man. Like I deserve someone who's giving me time.
Right.
And if you can't give me time, all you can give me is a text. Adios.
Right.
You know?
I have plenty of friends I can text.
Right? Like I'm not here for that. But so yeah, so I'm like opposite now. I almost won't put up with anything. And
That's your protective bubble though.
it is. Yeah, it is. And so I've been working on that too. Self-love, another thing is I deserve love. So I need to be open to it, right?
Yeah.
I need to be open to somebody else loving me. I love myself, but I need to be open to somebody else loving me without hurting me, without leaving me, without all this bullshit baggage that I have, because we are human and we need companionship. And I don't need a man, but I want one. I want to cuddle at night. You know what I mean?
Right.
With someone besides Sancho. So I know in order to really completely like continue this journey of self-love that I need to allow others to love me also.
Right.
Or at least trust them when they say they do until they prove that they don't, instead of already thinking they don't.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, you know me really well. So
I do. Yep. You make a total sense.
wow, I think we might have just had a breakthrough.
Yeah, it's like speaking life to me over here. We have a couple minutes left before we wrap up, but the one thing I want to touch on is when it comes to self care.
Mhm.
That's the bubble baths and all that stuff. Justy and I chose different self-cares today. We were
Yes.
laughing at each other because she is me and I am her.
Right.
Right now, because she was like, she's like, self-love right now is, she's like, I went to church, I did this and I did that. She's like, I took a shower, I'm already in my pajamas and I'm not doing my hair, I'm not doing my makeup or anything. She's like, I'm comfy. Well,
Right.
that's me literally on a daily basis because I mostly work from home. So I'm always in like stretch pants, t-shirt, hair is whatever it is for that day. But today I was like, oh, we're going to talk about self-love and self-care. I'm going to do my hair. I'm going to put I'm like, because I deserve it, because I don't ever do it unless
Right. And I did it last night. I went salsa dancing. So I was telling her I wore the same makeup to church that I wore last night to the club. But at least I didn't have the stamp on my hand from the bar or smell like vodka.
And
like
you changed your clothes. So
and I did. I changed my clothes. So
yeah, but it's just funny how we chose self-care can come in so many different forms. For Justy, it was like, let me get as comfortable as possible and just like rush the day away. And for me, I was like, ooh, this is a chance for me to like do something with myself because I don't do it often. So it's just funny how we chose those opposite paths where I was like, perfect thing to talk about because there's no script for self-care. It could be anything. I stopped getting my nails done, and that's a little bit of self-care for me because they're destroyed, they're damaged, and I'm waiting for them to grow. I can see where I used to have like gel on them. I could see the line. So I want them to grow and be healthy, and we'll be back. I'll get back to it, but it's just like self-care is just could be so many different things. It's just the little things that you do, the face masks, it could be journaling. It could be, I don't know, it could be talking nice to yourself in the mirror. It could just be so many different things that are just like, I don't know, caring for yourself more so than loving yourself, just like the little perks, the little fun stuff. That's how I see self-care versus self-love anyway.
Yeah, me too, for sure. And, no matter where we are in our journey, I think it's important that we all know that we're worth it, and
Both
we gotta
love and
start
care. Yeah.
right. Both. We're worth self-love, self-care, and we can't allow ourselves to let ourselves not love ourselves because we're the ones that are in our
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like we're in our own way.
Yeah.
Nobody else is in our way. Like
Yeah.
nobody controls what we eat. Nobody controls how we think about ourselves. Nobody controls what we do. So, I mean, unless you're in prison or something, but
Right. They
we're
still
not,
don't control your thoughts there. So,
no, they don't. So anyway, what's next?
oh boy. God, I should be ready for these things. I know we want to talk about Manjaro update because we are a bit we're both out of that for a bit.
Mhm.
We're gonna do some mindset. I have some thoughts for some mindset talk, and then the very next one is finding your style after weight loss because Justy's
Oh,
having so much fun with that. So
yeah, so is my bank account.
yeah, right.
But anyway, all right, well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, yep. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.